Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Internet for Old People, the second one here on the Good People Association. I'm Ken Napzok, wearing, you can see this is a Gin Blossoms t-shirt that I first wore in the mid-90s as a rock and roll DJ up there at K-Bear 95 up there in Pismo Beach. That's what the show's about. It's about the things in the past that we still love, that matter now, that mattered then. It's our shared experience because pop culture is culture, and we're also here to have some silly fun. We've got some great guests here in a second, bringing some new folks into the GPA family, but they're people I've known for a bit, and they're wonderful people I want you all to get to know and love, and we're going to talk pop culture with them. But I first want to talk about this idea of swimming in nostalgia. We are in this era that, we are rebooting. We are going back in time. We are reviving sitcoms from the 90s, movies from the 80s. We're redoing it all again. Without a doubt, it's a marketing ploy. Without a doubt, it's probably a marketing ploy to get money from folks like me. But you know what? I'm okay with the idea. I'm okay with not leaving everything behind. Some stories do come to an end. Do I want to revisit Cheers? No, I don't think I do. But am I okay taking another swipe with Frasier? Sure. Why not? Let's see how these characters advance because we all grew up with these shows, and let's see where it goes. Sometimes nostalgia is a bad word. It's a bad word in some of the movies, the shows, and the books we love, but also I think it's just an indication that we all love going back to a warm, comfortable place where the world was still rolling out in front of us. And that is part of the joy when you reconnect with those memories, and that's what we're here for. And as I always like to try to prove, they're shared stories. We all know where we were when this happened, when that happened, and that's part of the fun here today. And I hope you enjoy being along for the ride. And we always say, the title of the show is Internet for Old People because, well, that's what I am. But this is for everyone, and don't worry, guests of all ages and experiences are going to be here on this very show. Shout out to my friend Robbie Smith, who, I'm looking at the big monitor here because, man, that looks great. Ikaika actually transformed him from a Autobot into the Porsche. This is Jazz, my favorite Transformer character from the 80s, and Robbie Smith, a GPA member, sent me this as a gift, and Robbie, it's right here, keeping us comfortable and warm on the GPA set. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our panel for today. She is a wonderful journalist, a pop culture expert. She's worked for Lucasfilm. She wrote for CNET. So many things. She's got a great job now. If she wants to tell you about it, she will. Welcome to the show, Bonnie Burton, and my old stand-up comedy friend, Mike Beatrice. Welcome to the show, everybody. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am having a lot of fun hanging out.
I'm clapping for Bonnie, not for myself.
I'm clapping for you. I'm clapping for everyone. It's
a mutual clap society. First of all, shout out. So Mike Beatrice and I, we started doing stand up. Mike, what is it? Seriously now, 15 years ago? That's how much it flies?
Yeah. I mean, early 2000s. I would say at least 15, somewhere between 15 and 20.
Back even before the Schmoesworth thing, when it was Harloff and some guy Ellis hanging out in the belly room of the Comedy Store.
Right.
We used to do shows every week at Room 5, and Mike's also a great writer. You were one of the first writers for schmoesnow.com back in the day, yeah?
I was back when there was an actual website with like blogs and articles, and it was a great place to do like long form, tongue-in-cheek deep dives.
And one of your most famous articles was the F. Chris Pratt, which was about him maybe being recast as Indiana Jones, talking about nostalgia reboots. And then that has a new life now, right?
It does, and I stand by that piece.
You stand by. Well, it was pretty interesting because it was analyzing the idea that we were upset that Indy. What was it? Indy? We don't want Indy to be younger than us because the dream is that we can still grow up to be him, right?
That's exactly right. If I'm 30, Indiana Jones needs to be 40. If I'm 40, he needs to be 50. I want to keep imagining I can grow up to be Indiana Jones.
We all have dreams. Bonnie,
we do.
Do you have dreams? What are you?
I wanted to grow up to be Karen Allen. I wanted to I didn't want to be Indiana Jones. I want to own that kick-ass bar in the middle of nowhere and out drink everybody. And I have big dreams. Big dreams.
Marion Ravenwood's a great character, but that opening scene to me is still one of the best introductions of a character in any movie. You get everything.
You know what? It's also a great opening scene for is it Charlie's Angels Full Throttle? It's one of the Charlie's Angels reboots with Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu, they actually pay homage to that scene, and they do the whole thing, but as themselves, but in that whole setting. It's actually it's really cool scene. I like it a lot, but
paying their respects.
Ken, you might know, Ken, that I named my first daughter Marion, and just, nobody knows this, but I named her Marion so that I could feel like Indiana Jones when I'm scolding her from across a crowded supermarket. Marion, get over here.
Get over here.
Well, if you also want to go creepier into canon, the age difference is accurate. They imply that. I don't know if you caught that, but they imply that in the movie, that the reason that he got in trouble with Marion's dad is they were close friends working as professors, and he ended up dating Marion when she was probably in high school.
Yeah.
So
you knew what you were doing. Yeah,
we'll have a conversation with Indy.
Different times.
Don't give anybody ideas about Indiana Jones.
Different times. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying.
The one thing I have left.
Bonnie, what I love about you is you've had a lot of wonderful chapters of your career, and you're on to a great one now. We can talk about it if you want, but
I'm a staff writer at Hunt a Killer, so I get to plan out murders and get paid for it, and end up on lots of lists. I'm sure.
Yeah.
From like Google searches alone, I'm sure the FBI are looking at me closely.
That's they got to have some assurances for the job. No, I love Hunt a Killer. Not a sponsor. I'm happy to talk about it. Grace is true crime obsessed, and we got one of those Hunt a Killer boxes. I think she got it for birthday, and I came home one night. She had turned our living room and our kitchen into a crime scene investigative office. It was wonderful and crazy. I love it. It's good fun.
Yeah, it's like I've been watching. It's weird because I always tell people that when I first started watching Murder, She Wrote when I was a kid.
Yes.
I wasn't even a kid. I think it was junior high or something. That TV show ruined me because I was convinced that all authors got lavish book tours.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Got put up in very beautiful hotels and got fresh flowers and fruit baskets all the time.
All the time.
And got to just solve murders on the side. And when I became a published author, there's no such book tour like that.
No.
I've never been sent to Honolulu and get the presidential suite and solve a murder. It's not even one or the other either. I just don't, I don't get to solve a crime at Comic-Con. I don't get to,
See, you should. You should. Now, you've written a lot of books, absolutely, and that's part of your career. And what I love about you, because you were someone who I knew of before I knew. I've met you through other circles, Joseph Scrimshaw and all those kind of Jennifer Land, all those people kind of the
Nerd Crew.
The Nerd Crew. But I always knew of you because you were out and about and you were part of what was for me this growth of that nostalgia, that pop that I love and grew up on. I don't have to leave it at the door. No. You can trade on it. You can continue to be part of that, and you're one of those people. I think of you, Whitney Matheson, with Pop Candy and USA Today.
Oh yeah, Whitney. Yeah.
When I'd read these things and be like, oh my gosh, I'm over here in rock radio, which I loved. Clearly, Jim Blossom's there, but if you want to call him rock, but looking around, going, wait, nerds are people too. So thank you for that, Bonnie. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, I've always been a nerd. I was a farm nerd when I was a little kid because I grew up in Kansas in the middle of nowhere, and later in Colorado. And
right.
I was a music nerd, but I was also a D&D nerd. I loved Star Wars. I saw it when it first came out in a drive-through theater or drive-in theater, which now people know what a drive-in theater is because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Hipsters and youngsters now know what that is, but and I got to work at Lucasfilm for almost 10 years and do some really fun stuff. And before that, I was part of .com. I was part of the internet when internet started.
Yeah, the beginning.
So I've been really old. I'm really old.
No. And we could fill an entire show on your chapter of life over at Lucasfilm here. And Emma Fife.
That's a whole other.
Yeah. Shout out to Emma Fife. Emma Fife is in chat. Our buddy Emma says, Bonnie's great. I knew of her before we were friends, too. That's the impact Bonnie made here.
I'm glad that my reputation was a good one and not a stay away from this crazy chick.
Definitely not. Nope, definitely not. Definitely not. I asked this question of Mark Riley and Chip Dornell last week on the pilot episode of this show here. I'll ask you guys quickly here, and we'll get on to some wonderful trivia questions and stuff here. What was the year that you consider your pop culture awakening? I always give my example is 1987. That's the year that everything else seemed in the past, and that seemed like I was living the history that as it unfolded. What year did you find yourself suddenly looking around the world and taking note, Mike?
I've been giving this some thought. I don't know that I have an exact year for you. I would have to say it was either side of 1980, but I think the demarcation was for my era or our era of pop culture was the advent of SNL.
Oh yeah.
Because it was the mixture of comedy and pop references and news references, topical references.
Yeah.
And it was a mirror. It was self-reflexive. People were talking about it. So from that moment on, everything was a conversation. The water cooler conversation. Hey, did you see this? Did you do that? What about this joke? And it kind of seamlessly merged into what we were all doing at the time, which was having conversations. Suddenly movies change. We're talking about Jaws. We're talking about Star Wars. There's a buzz about the next ones, like the sequels or the next cool movie coming out. And the cool people like us were doing these things on TV. And then eventually, came there wasn't, you couldn't Google it, but you had Entertainment Tonight maybe, and maybe some magazines. And so the consciousness, the pop culture consciousness for our generation started to take shape there. And so it's like 1980, 1982, somewhere in there.
So basically what you're saying is it's Joe Piscopo that did it for you around that era, right?
Yeah.
It's Joe Piscopo. That's a great answer. And that's kind of the stuff I'm looking for here too, because it's like, that's when it started to change. And it wasn't just a little secret. It was something we were all sharing. I always say it's a shared language. A little inside reference to hardware wars made me and my high school buddy, that's how we became friends, is a shared knowledge of the Star Wars parody that not a lot of people saw in the late 70s. And so that's part of it here, that water cooler stuff. Bonnie, for you, when do you feel you kind of started paying attention?
I want to say maybe 79 or 80, because
same era,
where I grew up in Kansas, we only had, I know this is hard to believe, but we only had 3 TV stations. And one of them was PBS that would play a lot of British programming because we were closer to the Canadian, I guess, PBS. So they would just play a lot of like Faulty Towers, Monty Python, Red Dwarf, Keeping Up Appearances, Are You Being Served? Like just a lot of British comedy, but also obviously the big one for me was Doctor Who. Tom Baker was my Time Lord, and it was so when you had long stretches of no Star Wars, you tried to get it wherever you could, and Star Trek was okay, but I wanted something a bit like sexier and sassier and funnier. And Battlestar Galactica, the TV series, was a little too serious, though. I will know it hooked me in on episode 1 just from Rick Springfield alone. And then Richard Hatch, the late great Richard Hatch, obviously. That was one of my first crushes. But Doctor Who was something that I really liked. And I wasn't homeschooled, but when I did go to school, there weren't a lot of us, and there weren't a lot of nerds. So, and there weren't any girl nerds. So trying to find my nerd crew was really hard in elementary school and junior high. I didn't find a nerd crew until I became like goth punk rock girl. And then there's a lot of crossover in that Venn diagram of nerdy geek, pop culture fanatic, and punk rock. So I would say Doctor Who for sure.
That's a great thing.
I think the first costume I wanted to be from that was a Dalek, and trying to explain to my mom what that was, I was like, well, it's kind of like a trash can with a plunger and like knobs all over it. Like, my poor mom. So trying to figure.
It's a murder robot, Mom. It's just a murder robot.
Well, it started a long tradition of me doing Halloween costumes that no one understood. So I mean, that was a nice beginning to confusion that would continue into adulthood. No, I would say like Doctor Who for sure. I mean, obviously the big ones like Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar, and I would say Thunderbirds too. At a young age, I really like the super marionation of that, and so creepy. The puppets were so creepy in that thing. And that was from the 60s, but they would play it super late at night. And if I couldn't sleep, I would sneak down to the family room and turn on our like crappy television and watch that to fall asleep too.
Yeah, no, it's like I say, I would see the reruns of Monty Python or something, and I just thought it was a current show, you know, for me, mid to late 80s.
Monty Python, I will say though, it got me some points when I started doing debates, which they call forensics, which I don't understand why they
speech forensics.
Forensics. Forensics to me is dead bodies, but they called it debate, and that's everyone in debate knew every Monty Python episode, record, everything. And you could instantly get like cool kid points if you could, the longer you could go riffing Monty Python back and forth. I found out that every IT department in every company I worked for, there's like at least half of them are Monty Python guys that are just like that. And you can get your computer fixed a lot faster if they know you're a Monty Python fan.
That's just speaking.
I would say like around that time, that was what, but you know, SNL for me, that was something I really loved because I shared it with my dad. It was like, I was only allowed to watch two things late at night with my dad. And it was either Hill Street Blues or Barney Miller, depending on the night. And SNL. And it's just something that my dad loved that humor. We're big Belushi fans. Lorraine Newman and
love it.
I mean, just Aykroyd, Murray. Like it was Gilda Radner is still a big hero of mine. That's that's the golden time for me for SNL. I mean, it got better with other decades.
Yeah,
but
you connect with each other.
I agree with you that was a pop culture point for me as well, sure.
Which is what, when they created SNL, it's like they wanted to feel like the kids were taking over the TV studio. And we've taken it over here on the GPA. This is a great conversation so far, but we are just getting warmed up. And this is a segment of Kaika, if you're ready, we call Bucket Full of Pop.
Oh, God.
All right, here's what we got going on. I'm going to flash up a picture. We got three big pop culture incidents or moments, his TV shows, characters, actors, people. It could be anything from the past that maybe elicits a reaction. You also might find that you're not super connected to the moment, which is part of the story too. This is fun, this is trivial, but it also shows our shared experiences and the power of pop culture. So if you're ready, no trivia on this one. The trivia is a little bit later here. I just want to know your connection to these incidents. So this is number one, going back to 2003. Jessica Simpson, is this chicken or is this fish? I know it's tuna, but it says chicken of the sea. This was reality TV kind of in the beginning. So any connections to this was a water cooler moment that went on for a bit in the early age of social media, too. We got on our Friendster accounts to talk about this one, Mike and Bonnie. No?
I mean, I never watched this show because they annoyed me too much. And I was a fan of the Real World. In fact, I did the first MTV Real World fan site. And I did TV screen, I did recaps and I did full transcripts and bios and stuff. I made a full-fledged Real World reality show fan page that an MTV just bought from me. They just took it. So
man,
that's the only thing that I was into, because this is later.
Right.
Okay, so what year is this?
2003. But this is when reality TV started to hit networks, right? At Real World, yeah, you're right. I'm there with you in the 90s.
Yeah.
But Survivor and all this, and something was everyone starts to get their life documented.
Well, it's also reality TV. You start to realize that people are either really stupid or they're acting stupid for the camera.
Yes.
To get more, controversy or airtime or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say Jessica Simpson's stupid, because she's a very smart businesswoman and she has made a ton of money, and she's also a very nice person. But the chicken of the sea thing, I will say, when I was young and we had tuna fish sandwiches and it said chicken of the sea on the can, I always thought that was a weird thing to say, because the chicken would be drowned if it was that far underwater, and it's
the
not
logic
a chicken,
of it.
It's a fish, and it's. But they also had chicken in a can, so maybe that. I mean.
I think there's some justifiable confusion, Michael Beatrice, here.
I agree. I'm not going to falter.
Yeah, and the world turned on her, which is also part of what, looking back, you're like, again, I think there could be a manufactured factor. I don't believe anything in reality TV.
I mean, was that the beginning of cancel culture?
But it was over tuna, and that's kind of the point, right, Beatrice? And that how much we've grown and learned from that. Right, Mike?
Ken, I'm the resident chicken expert because for the past 10 years I have had chickens as pets, and my girls still do.
Yeah.
And I've often pondered that if tuna is the chicken of the sea, does that make chicken the tuna of the land? That's how I would market it.
It's absolutely.
But, I have no connection to that still, but I'm going to pretend I do, because in listening to Bonnie, I think my connection is that I had no connection. We talked about when pop culture began for us. I think it begs the question, when did it end?
Yeah.
When did our supremacy as the pop culture generation, look, we're still cool. I don't care what anybody says. I'm in the prime of my life, Ken.
I'm there with you.
But the warning bell that maybe our time was coming to a close was Real World on MTV. Like, wait a minute. That was our video channel. Now you got these knuckleheads, just profiling their lives. And so by extension of that, when you get to 2003, and look, to be fair, in 2003, I was probably passed out somewhere. So I may have missed the whole Jessica Simpson thing. But like by the time it was like, oh, now we're just doing shows about almost celebrities being married and their lives. And I think for me and maybe a lot of our pop culture generation, there was a collective, it's not my thing anymore. I'm still going to watch the old stuff. I'm going to watch, Indiana Jones 3 times on TBS in the afternoon or whatever,
I absolutely think this is a great point, because there is this, I find myself now, this is part of one of the reasons I want to do the show, is you and I, Mike, as stand-up comics, were very reference-based, and at one point my cool, hip references that only some people know are now archaic, and it just starts to happen because it's not that you're old and crotchety, you just aren't connected as much to things coming down the pipeline.
Right.
And it's just the way it happs.
Or you just have to redefine it. I mean, I had to explain to, I don't think it was a millennial, I think it was a Gen Zer, what an encyclopedia set was.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's Wikipedia if you print it out.
Just across an entire bookshelf.
And put it in hardcover books. That's
each letter gets a ream of paper. It's great.
Each one.
Can I tell you my favorite
pages and all that? Like, they didn't understand the concept of yellow pages, and it's just like, okay.
Yep, that's it.
Can I tell you my favorite thing about my daughters is that they're the generation that'll blame everything on millennials.
Yeah.
Oh, now we all have something in common.
And also, like, the millennials blame everything on the boomers. My daughters will blame everything on the millennials. Once again, Gen X. Even if he did come for us, we wouldn't care. But I feel like there's a chance we're going to skate through unscathed.
No, we will.
Like, nobody's coming for us yet.
No. That's because we hate ourselves.
Yeah.
There's nothing that the younger generations can say that would insult us that we haven't already insulted ourselves.
Right. I mean, come on. Look at Reality Bites. That's what we are.
We're the self-loathing generation. So you can't come for us when we've already come for ourselves multiple times.
Exactly.
That's
exactly
so perfect, buddy. We already hate ourselves. What are you going to do?
You can't damage a broken window if it's already broken. Like,
Yeah, look at the great music we gave you all. You're using all your car commercials now. All right, the next one up here, Bucket Full of Pop. Kaika hit it. This one's from 1995. I think we're going to have some connections to this one.
Oh, is this Who Shot Mr. Burns?
Mr. Burns got shot in one of the greatest cliffhangers, which was an homage to one of the greatest cliffhangers. All right, Beatrice.
And it's referencing something no one ever remembers, which is Dallas and Who Shot JR.
Right, which is why I put J.R. Ewing in my little graphic for this, because I
did notice that.
I think it's one of those first ones here. Beatrice, I got to start with you, because quite frankly, you and I, me, Chip Dornell, last week's guest, Simpsons is one of those things we can kind of bond over, at least back in the day, yeah?
I believe The Simpsons just got renewed for season 33 and 34.
Two
I might
more.
have the numbers wrong.
They did.
And what like, when you watch the old ones now, the references, like, I get them, I like them, but wow, like, they are definitely references from then. Like you said, not only does nobody get the Dallas reference, if I did Who Shot Mr. Burns, there's a lot of people now that aren't going to get that reference, which was referencing something else. For that specific show, I want to say it was a cliffhanger, end of one season, beginning of another.
It was.
And I, like, there, like SNL, every, after a few initial seasons, it's the yearly the yearly eulogy for the show.
Yeah.
But SNL continues to go.
Yeah.
Simpsons continues to go. And then the years that were, it was going to get canceled, we look back on more fondly, like, oh, that was a great year, So, but I think that two-parter might have been a seminal high watermark for The Simpsons before and after. Not that what came after was bad, but if you ended right there and watched all the ones before, you would have seen a solid volume of Simpsons episodes.
You kind of get it.
And nobody would begrudge you for that.
Yeah.
But now, like, I don't know who's writing The Simpsons now, because it's a machine. Yeah. Everybody that we would have identified with is gone.
Yeah.
And it's still making money. But I think, it's, the references are newer. So it's not even My Simpsons anymore.
Well, yeah, and that weird canon the show lives in where they never age. The show's almost going to be as older than Homer. But this was big. This was like that summer. It was a two-parter leading up to it. Bonnie, like, it was like a kind of a countdown of who shot Mr. Burns.
I agree. Like, Simpsons, it's so weird because, like, if you think of the references, like, if you watch really old episodes of Simpsons, I joke about this because I'm friends with some Simpsons writers and some people that still work on the show, but also some veterans. Sadly, it is a show that has had, I think, maybe 3 women write for it in total. I think Nell Scoville wrote for it, and Mimi Pond, and like 2 other people, but that's it, which is sad.
Yeah, very sad.
And I'm just saying that in a bitter way.
Yeah.
Because I have tried to get on that show as a TV writer since college, and I'm old, and I have so many spec scripts, for that show. In fact, one of my shows, which was a spec script, was a crossover. This is how long I've been trying to get on that show as a writer. Yeah. It was a crossover script that I wrote called Mulder, She Wrote, and it was Murder, She Wrote, X-Files crossover in The Simpsons before Simpsons did the X-Files spoof.
Yes.
And it ended up, I think, on one of the it's not supposed to end up at The Simpsons. When you do a spec script as a beginning screenwriter or TV writer, you're writing to show that you can write in that voice or in that TV ilk. It doesn't end up at the people that make that TV show. It's usually at other shows. Yeah. And it ended up on, I think, Bongo Comics. Like, somebody at Bongo Comics was like, that script has been on our desk for like 10 years. But here's the thing with Simpsons. It's been on so long that so many generations identify with it. And you're totally right. I watched an episode recently, and it was all about, there were Snapchat jokes and YouTuber jokes, and there were YouTuber guest stars. I didn't recognize the YouTubers. And they had, like, I do social media strategy, so I understood, like, the hashtag jokes and, like, influencer jokes. But, if you were a little bit older than me and gave up, like, on the internet in the world, you'd be like, what the hell is this Simpsons episode about? And it was like, even when I watched it when it first came on, their writers were doing vaudeville references. They were doing jokes to, like, 1920s, 1930s comedians, not just Laurel and Hardy and, the usual candidates for that, like, just really obscure stuff. And you could tell who graduated from Harvard on the writing staff. You could tell who was from Yale. Yeah. You could figure out who was from the gutter. You could figure out who was from stand up. Yeah. Because it's such a, and when you look at the writers of that show, like, I think Conan O'Brien specifically, you definitely know what seasons he was a writer on. It's pretty obvious.
Some of my favorite moments are Conan moments. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that two-parter, like, it's not my favorite of all the entire episodes. Like, I've got a lot of favorites that, are pretty obscure. And then I'm actually afraid of The Simpsons now because they predicted the future so accurately with Trump being president. Yeah. And they predicted COVID. They predicted a lot. And so now I'm a little worried to watch because I'm like, I don't know if I want the Halloween special to become reality.
Yeah, or it's, you get a little warning there. And final point on this one here too, you both touched on it, is the generational pull now. 32 seasons, 33, 34, rediscovering it, finding it, new generations finding it in their own way. And is it as popular as it used to be? No, but there's also so much content now. Back in the day, it was the thing. It was subversive. It was almost a little bit like SNL of, like, who's on the TV, who's giving these kids a cartoon show in adult primetime, and that kind of had that feel. And this, I think you're right, Mike. It kind of led up to this not that it went down or anything after or any of that kind of comment, but just this was kind of the zenith of its connection to pop culture.
Well, it also became a show where people were excited to watch to see how celebrities guest starring. So there was a whole, evolution of The Simpsons from being just funny and poignant to also having Red Hot Chili Peppers animated or, different people animated. And that became a whole thing. And now it's a mix, I think, of progressive, like humor of today and a lot of callbacks. I mean, they make fun of old episodes they did previously. Right. It's almost meta now. Like, I feel like
almost gotta be the way they do it.
And also it doesn't have, I mean, it has so much, now there's so many, scandalous animated series. Like you have South Park, which is its own thing, but also Family Guy, which was its own thing. And now Archer and BoJack Horseman and Big Mouth. And, you have so many other shows to compete with that are a lot more controversial and shocking than Simpsons.
Yeah, and a lot of them owe a lot to Simpsons, and many of them absolutely give credit, and it's I think it's okay for the next generations to come along and do something maybe even bigger and better. But that's you can never never discount the original, never discount them for being first. We could probably do a lot of talk on the Simpsons between the three of us, favorite moments and all those kind of things. But final moment here from Bucket Full of Pop. This one going back to 1979. You've both mentioned this year. Let's see if you can connect with this one.
Oh, poor John Denver.
John Denver, the late, great John Denver from 1979, December 5th, 1979 to be specific. This was John Denver and the Muppets, A Christmas Together. The Muppets in the news because now on Disney Plus, you can catch up with old episodes, which I have been doing. This show, without me even realizing it, I was talking about this with my pal Joseph Scrimshaw today, off air over at Force Center. We both love the show, but we both realize now watching these episodes how much it informed our comedy and what we look for. The show in the front, the chaos in the back, the subversion, the satire, the sometimes over-the-top silliness, the different characters. It has an impact for me, so I don't know if you connect with this one as much. Bonnie, you gave a big ah. Was that for Denver or was it for the special specifically?
Well, yeah, because, obviously John Denver passed away in a very tragic airplane accident that he was piloting, and I grew up with country music, so even though he was more country folky-oky, not, he wasn't full Haggard, he was. Yeah, he was like the Johnny Cash camp, but he had that American folk hero kind of persona. He was so well liked, and he had a pretty extensive acting career as well as music career. But anytime I see the Muppets too, it makes me happy because it's something that I shared with my brother and my family during my childhood, and it was the Muppet Show. I liked the Muppet Show more than like Sesame Street.
Same.
Because Muppet Show had adult humor and also sarcasm and musical numbers with Blondie. Like people I actually wanted to see, and they had Pigs in Space, and they had a Star Wars episode, and so for me it was like my version of the best variety show. Because at that time in the 70s. There were a ton of variety shows, and by variety shows, I mean a celebrity host it. If anyone's watching this that's young, it's a celebrity hosts it, and then there's musical acts, there's comedy numbers, there's serious stuff, there's funny stuff, there's like interjections between the host and the star, that star. So like the Donnie Marie Osmond show, Cher had a show, Dolly Parton had a show, Mandrell Sisters.
The Mandrell Sisters followed the Muppet Show, and that was my first memory as a kid. My dad and I watching the Muppet Show, and that would lead right into the Mandrell Sisters. And a funny
even shows like Hee Haw. Like Hee Haw was the thing where it's like hillbilly comedy with music, and Muppet Shows was that. It was Muppets with music, but comedy. And you're right, like I think my young stand-up career as a 7-year-old stand-up comedian in elementary school came specifically from Muppet jokes. So
absolutely. Mike, what's your connection to this particular special, but the Muppet Show overall and the Muppets?
Well, I can connect personally to that special because one of my favorite Christmas album as a young lad was the John Denver Muppet Christmas album.
It's
specifically the 12 Days of Christmas as sung by Miss Piggy, but I have it. It is in the other house, but I remember it's the album cover that you open, and I have it on LP, and I think I got it on CD and probably get it on Spotify now. And I played it for my girls at Christmas, so it's generational.
That's sweet.
So I have a big connection to that special, that album. I will say about the Muppets, talk about the Muppets forever too. I love that they're kind of back, as much as anything really can be back, without being problematic. And I know that there's a whole kerfuffle about the warning labels on Disney and for a couple of episodes. But look, it's on Disney. It's back. People are watching it. And the movies, you start at the top of the episode here, you talked about rebooting things. They rebooted Muppets, and you know what? They did a really good job.
That first one was I love it a lot.
And it was a little meta, like, you know, are they still going to be relevant? Does anybody care? In the movie, they're talking about that. And of course, it ends with, yes, more than ever, we need the Muppets. And I don't think they've caught on the way they did back then, but they made a really good case. It spawned a sequel, which is terribly funny. And now people are watching the Muppet Show on Disney Plus. So I'm glad that the Muppets have endured and prevailed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It was some, and the John Denver one specifically, I make references to it a lot, but it's, and I'm glad you kind of have an affinity for John Denver, Bonnie, because as a kid, my memories of him just are feelings of warmth that I didn't even fully understand. John Denver, the Muppets, singing the songs, the 12 Days of Christmas, absolutely comes to mind, Michael. But yeah, Bonnie, it's like I just look at him. He was a perfect mix for the Muppets. He was sincere. He was sweet. They were a little sassy, a little snarky, but also had those the pathos there. So it was a perfect connection, and it absolutely flavored my childhood.
He almost, I mean, I feel like, and this is not an insult, by the way, but I almost think that John Denver was like the human version of Kermit. You know, like he's just like this nice, overly nice guy that just wants, you know, people to like him, but also enjoy his, you know, music and enjoy his style of entertainment. So it's like, I don't know, like Kermit's such a interesting character, and, you know, sometimes he doesn't get put in the spotlight like other Muppets do, but I feel like him and John Denver had a lot in common. So
I think that's a great
Are we sure that Jim Henson didn't build John Denver?
We don't know. I don't know.
Anybody check and see if there's an arm up John Denver's
back? They made the Muppets ride bikes in a movie. They could make a.
That's still, by the way, that scene on the double bike.
Yeah.
With was it called a tandem bike with Miss Piggy and Kermit still haunts me to this day. Seeing his little spindly frog legs. Yeah. And it was just no. I never want to see that again. Like that haunted me. I mean, it wasn't like nightmare inducing, but it was not something I needed to see.
Look, the big conclusion of the Muppet movie, Animal getting large and grow, it kind of scared me. I still have kind of a residual fear from that stuff. But I'm oddly partial to Muppets Take Manhattan.
Me too.
Saw it in the theater.
The end of the Muppet movie wasn't like, as a 9-year-old or whatever, I'm like, wait, why are they trying to eat Kermit? What is this about frogs' legs?
Frog legs.
What's happening?
That's a southern, that was a southern dish. I knew what that was because we would eat that.
You surely eating
growing
Kermit.
up, but yeah, I would never. After watching the Muppets, I swore off frogs' legs. But
well, that's good.
Yeah, it's also one of those things too, where you forget the Muppets are animals. Like
yeah.
You know, I love crayfish, but I mean that Muppet is one of the cutest. Or what's his name? The crayfish.
I know. Yeah, it's part of the later ones for me. But yes.
And also, you know what? New generations of kids are discovering the Muppets just based on memes.
Yeah.
So they're like, they'll see these weird memes of Muppets, Kermit. And then they'll be like, "What is this about?" And then they'll hopefully go to the online encyclopedia known as Wikipedia and
figure it out. Kermit sipping tea. All right, that is the segment there. Bucket full of pop. You guys did it wonderful. Take us out of that one, Ikaika, and I'll set for the next one here. All right, next up is a little segment here as we build towards the big trivia. We've got this little conversation piece here called New Trend, Old Soul, and this is where I ask my guests here, what is one trend, fashion, a TV show, movie, technology, something that you fought against actively, like slammed your hand on the desk and said, I won't do that, youngsters, but you now take part in freely. Michael, you strike me like me, maybe a stubborn old guy asking people to get off his lawn from time to time. You got one here?
Yeah, I do tell people to get off my lawn, and I don't even own a lawn. Just get off it, whatever it is.
Get off of my porch.
I don't know that I was pounding on the bar top, railing against it, but I predate, that's a play on words, I predate dating apps. And so by the time dating apps came around, the Tinder, the Bumble,
Grinder,
all the others, yeah. I was happily married.
Yeah.
And so, without getting into a whole thing, I am now in a place in my life where I'm very grateful for dating apps. So I eschewed them. I looked down on you askance if you were on them.
Yeah.
And now, not only am I in there, but a lot of our generation who find themselves back in that pool are hanging out. And I've had some pleasant conversations using common frames of reference that the things we're talking about. So, and especially during COVID. So if you take Suddenly Single and COVID, I am pro dating app, whatever your app of choice may be.
We need that song. That's a great answer. That's because sometimes you could scoff from afar and suddenly you find yourself in need. That is a great answer. Swiping right on something you maybe didn't want to do before. Great answer, Bonnie. I've looked at your life, Bonnie, through Instagram, and you're great at sharing old photos. You're a trendsetter in a lot of ways. I want to give you credit for that. But at some point, deep down, if you fought against something that you now take part in freely.
I'm just gonna show this mug because I didn't know if I'd be able to show this off. But you remember eWorld?
I do. Yes.
I was an editor at eWorld. It was Apple's version. It was before Apple was profitable.
Yeah.
It was when Apple decided to compete with AOL and failed.
Yep.
And my job was called a web harvester. What I would basically do was review the 15 websites that were up, and organize them by content.
Back when you could actually get to the end of the internet back then.
Oh yeah. Oh, remember when the internet was on CD-ROM? Remember those days?
Oh yeah. Great.
That was good times.
Great coasters. Great coasters.
I made a gown out of all those AOL discs one year.
Yeah.
That was. I'm not joking. I actually in San Francisco I made a gown. I had all of them. I just made a gown.
Oh man.
My inner drag queen was very impressed.
That's awesome.
I don't know, because I tend to be that type of person that jumps on new technology because I don't want to be the old person who doesn't know what TikTok is, what Snapchat is, what WhatsApp is. I need to be on, because I did a lot of tech reporting, and also I do a lot of consulting with companies on audience development and social media. So you have to be on top of all that stuff of where people are to attract them to your brand or whatever.
Yeah.
I was never into dating apps, mainly because I am convinced it's 80% serial killers.
Yeah.
The reason I know this
is
Mike, when Match.com started, someone dared me to put a profile up. I don't think it's still up, but I put up a profile and made it as scary as possible. I made myself sound like a serial killer, and I got so many dating requests.
Oh yeah.
Still,
right.
when I said I like to torture people to feel alive, and my idol is Lizzie Borden. I made myself sound scary, and I still got meeting requests. So that to me was okay, now I know there's a high percentage, and especially for women.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the safest. If you watch a lot of true crime, I mean, you know this, Ken, how many true crime stories are there that are the Dirty John situation where it's he seemed perfect.
Look, I once said, this is almost like a serious discussion, but I asked Grace, but why do you love true crime so much? And she's like, you don't understand. We women are studying this because we fear this would happen to us every day.
Oh, yeah. As a woman, you're constantly we're going to be attacked multiple times in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Sadly, I don't know why I'm laughing about this.
No, but
it's a thing. It's a welcome to being a woman. And I got daily death threats just for writing for CNET. I think the worst death threat I ever got was writing a positive review of Aquaman. Someone really wanted to see me dead and suggested a dark web account for an assassin to kill me. So
there you go.
So I don't really go on dating apps. I'm trying to think of something that I was dedicated. Oh, I know. This is perfect.
Yeah.
And this is something that old people like us.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna
pasha. Yeah.
Is watching videos of people playing video games.
Oh yes, pasha indeed.
Twitch is. Twitch has developed into other things.
So much more. Yeah.
But Especially during COVID, I was like, okay, I've watched everything on Netflix, everything on Amazon, everything on Hulu, everything on Disney Plus. I have nothing left to watch.
Yeah.
I can't watch my DVDs. That's too depressing. I'll just go on Twitch and see what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I started watching these kids playing video games, and now I know why it's fun, because sometimes they suck at it. Sometimes the banter is hilarious. I specifically like to watch people on Twitch who are bad at video games. One of my closest friends, Felicia Day, she's not bad at video games, but she talks a lot in accents. When she's playing video games, she will take on the persona's accent.
Yeah.
Her Skyrim, like you can see all of her videos on YouTube, on her YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Her Skyrim gameplay videos are some of the most, and her Lara Croft video gameplay videos are some of the most entertaining improv I have ever witnessed.
It's the journey, not the destination. I'm with you too, because I remember going, "What the hell's going on this Twitch?" And now I have my own channel, and also we have the.
I have a Twitch channel that eventually I do want to do drunk crafting.
Oh yeah.
Where I try to do a very difficult, because I write craft books for a living on the side, but I'm not good at complicated Martha Stewart type crafts. So I kind of want to start with all the supplies and a large bottle of wine or bourbon or something, and see how far I get.
See if you get hurt.
Like, it'd be like Nailed It, like that baking show where no one can make
no one can do it.
It would be like that, but it would be crap. So I do want to do that at some point. But yeah, I would say watching videos of people playing video games, and also mukbang videos, which is just watching people eat a lot.
Yeah.
They're not eating competitions.
Just eating.
It's just a lot of food. And it's, for some reason, it's just entertaining to watch very skinny girls eat a lot of food. And I want to say, like, as a feminist, I don't know if that's not a feminist thing. I kind of want to support them because they're girls online, but they're not naked. They're not cam girls, and nothing wrong with that either. But mukbang videos it makes me feel better about how I eat, because I don't eat that much compared to that. So it's like
Mike's shrinking away. He's like, man, I'm on dating apps. Am I a serial killer? Ikaika, what you put out the paddle of doom? What you got?
Well, here on the GPA, you can watch Mark Riley, Josh McCouga, and Ken Napzok play games terribly. Yeah. As well as when we get Del Taco, we eat a lot of food.
Yeah. We have our own mukbang. And every Wednesday, for those who are new to the show watching, twitch.tv/goodpeoplegpa, we fire up the crock pot and hot crock pot. 4 hours of cooking live on Twitch.
You do not.
We do every Wednesday. Hot crock pot. Bonnie, you got to submit a recipe or come by.
That. I mean, to hell with Instapot. It's all about the crock pot.
It's all about the crock pot. Slow cooking fun. Great answers. You guys are killing it. We're about to come to the final chapter of this show today, and we've got some fun trivia. Now, last week when I introduced this game, I mentioned, in the back of my mind, I think I stole this from my friend Michael Beatrice. And Beatrice, you're here to confirm that you're going to sue me because this is an idea you pitched to me.
You're going to hear from my people.
Yeah.
This is the exact same thing that happened to Art Buchwald with Coming to America.
You
stole my thing. I want you to. The settlement can be paid in non-fungible cryptocurrency.
I'm good with that. Yeah, I can do that. Me and the Kings of Leon. So
here's thank God you're using it. Somebody should use the idea.
No, this is great, and more to come. So it's simple. We got up to 5 questions. It is a best of 5. So first to 3 wins. Your name is your buzzer. Take some time, have some fun. The victory prize is just the honor in your heart for winning here. I'm going to give you movies. We got movies. I'm going to give you the year. If you want to take a guess just based off the year, try to get into my mind what I'm putting out there, you can take a swing. If you miss, the other person gets a chance to steal. Other than that, I'm going to name up to 5 actors slowly, beat by beat, who are in the cast. They might be leads. They might be weird cameos, but they were in the movies. And let's see if you can guess. Any questions? Are you ready to compete here?
So we just say our name when we want to answer?
Yeah, you yell Bonnie and you're in. You're buzzed on in here.
Okay,
all right?
Cool.
Okay, here we go. First one up. The year is 1986. Andrew Dice Clay. James.
Mike.
Yep.
Ford Fairlane. The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
That is incorrect. Bonnie, yeah?
Pretty in Pink?
That's the answer. Pretty in Pink. Bonnie gets it. Andrew Dice Clay plays like a bouncer in the movie.
He plays a bouncer that won't let John Cryer's Ducky into the punk rock nightclub that serves alcohol, but Molly Ringwald's the same age and she gets in.
That is amazing. That's a great pull, Bonnie.
Yeah, and that's my favorite role he's ever done because it's the only role he's not a sexist.
Yeah.
His sexist character. I don't want to say he's sexist because it was a character, but like I love him in Pretty in Pink because he's such a good bouncer.
Yeah.
He would be a great bouncer. So yeah.
But look, I'll tell you what, good guess, Mike. Great get, Bonnie. All right, next question here. We're going to 2001, which, as I say in the intro of the show, new is old. That's 20 years ago, kids. 2001. Alec Baldwin, Cuba Gooding Jr., Kate Beckinsale, Josh Hartnett.
What?
Ben,
Mike.
Yep.
Pearl Harbor.
You got it. You got it. What sealed it for you? Was it Hartnett?
It was actually. It was hard. I'm like, what movie are these people in? And then it was Hartnett.
I almost threw Dan Aykroyd in there because he's in that film.
Here.
I almost said Hollywood Homicide.
Yeah.
Almost.
That would have been great.
Affleck
Almost,
was.
but I couldn't remember what year that was, and I don't think Kate. I would have known if Kate was in that. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're tied. We're tied at one. Tied at one. We are going to 1991. Julia Roberts, Dustin Hoffman, Maggie Smith, Dante Bosco, Robin Williams.
What? Are you just making this up?
No. No.
Robin Williams.
I'm giving
Bonnie.
Bonnie, go for it.
This is wrong though. Was it Toys or Toy?
No, that's a great movie. Barry Levinson. No, Mike, for a steal, can you just take a wild swing?
Robin Williams. I got nothing.
I got nothing. He wasn't in Mystic Pizza. Robin Williams would have been great in Mystic Pizza, but no,
he would have. All right. Well, this is with Ikaika. You got it though, right?
Yes.
What is it, Ikaika?
It's Hook.
Hook.
Oh,
Hook. The Spielberg classic. Hook.
Julia Roberts as a really horrible Tinkerbell. I remembered that.
I kind of knew. I kind of had a feeling that would throw people. I thought the Dante Bosco one. People are that name. Usually, if you hear it and you know it's Hook, you got it. But yeah, people in chat are like, "Come on, come on."
She got canceled culture because she cut her hair.
Yeah, right. Remember that?
That was huge. That was like
her
bad.
and Carrie Russell years later. All right, it's tied at one. It's tied at one. It's still possible. Okay. Here we go. We're going to, this is a poll, 1985. Scatman Crothers, who was also in last week's competition, Lainey Kazan, Ray Wise, John Cusack.
Mike.
Yep.
Twilight Zone the movie.
That is incorrect. Bonnie, you can guess, or I can give you the final. Actor.
Give me some more actors. I feel like I could get it. I know most of Cusack's movies, so keep going.
So Scatman Crothers, Landy Kazan, Ray Wise, John Cusack, and Meredith Salinger.
Now, I should know this because I'm friends with Meredith. She's gonna kill me.
This is the one.
Is this the Nan movie?
You know what?
The Wolf Nan.
You're trying to pull it. You're almost there.
Nan.
You're so close. You're so close. The Journey of Natty Gann.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one. This is.
I can see the point happily. I think she got it.
No, don't give me that. That's bad.
Also, I knew Cusack wasn't in Twilight Zone, but I already committed to the answer.
Yeah, that's sometimes.
No, don't give me that point. I don't.
All right.
I don't.
Okay, Bonnie. Mike concedes it. Bonnie refuses. We're tied at one, which means this is the final one. Okay. Whoever gets it wins here, and if you don't, if you both swing and miss here, I do have a tiebreaker in TV shows that we didn't use last week here. So.
Okay.
Here we go. Number 5. Oh, yeah. Here we go. From the year 1994.
Okay.
Robert Loggia. Dermot Mulrooney.
Oh.
Drew Barrymore. Andy McDowell. Madeline Stowe.
Bonnie.
Oh,
this is going to be wrong, though. Oh, I know the plot, but I don't know the name of the... Was it Poison... Not Poison Ivy. Poison. It's when she's Drew Barrymore tries to seduce her teacher or something. God, what is it called?
Well,
no, I don't know.
Well,
go ahead,
that's
Mike.
incorrect. Mike, do you get a steal here? Do you have a steal? Robert Loggia, Dermot Mulroney, Drew Barrymore, Andy McDowell, Madeline Stowe from 1994.
Doesn't the universe implode if Andy McDowell and Madeline Stowe are in a movie together?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I don't think I know, but I'm gonna use my turn just to start doing Robert Loggia. Robert Loggia. I'm in movies. I'm Loggia. I always play Loggia.
Mr. President, I'll stand by your side. It is one of my favorite movies of all time because Madeline Stowe is my favorite actor of all time. Bad Girls.
Oh, okay.
Bad Girls.
I knew it was something where it was.
I didn't see it.
But I didn't know it was poison.
You were working with. All right, we're.
I mean, that's like all of Drew Barrymore's movies. Once she hit 1920, they're all like Lolita characters. So she did like 10 of those movies.
You're right. You're totally right. A great bat. It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie, but I love it. I have the soundtrack.
It's not in the Robert Loggia Criterion Collection?
It's not quite, but it's, because I'm such a Young Guns fan and Young Guns 2 and a Tombstone fan, and this came out on the tail end of that, and it's before The Quick and the Dead, Sharon Stone, DiCaprio, but it's Sweet Swat.
I do remember this now. Yeah.
I loved Quick and the Dead. Why didn't you ask about Quick and the Dead?
I'll be honest, I thought Hook. All right, so here's the thing. It's tied at 1. It's tied at 1. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to go back to last week. Now we're switching to TV shows. Switching to TV shows. Here's the deal. This is I don't know. Oh, this is a deeper cut. Let's see. All right, 1984 TV show. 1984. Javier Grajeda, Jean Bruce Scott, Alex Cord.
Mike.
Yeah. Say it again. Say it again. Your sound cut out. Airwolf is it. Airwolf. Do 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 do. Ernest Borgnine, Jan Michael Vincent, Airwolf. Now it's funny.
First guy, Javier. Who?
So I put this in specifically for Chip last week. Javier Grajeda used to do stand-up with us at Room 5, and he was pals from the old day with Bryan Cranston, which is why Cranston used to come to our shows at Room 5, if you remember back in the day. It was all connected. It was an inside joke, but you got it. Airwolf also one of my favorite shows.
And by the way, Jean Bruce Scott meant it was one of 2 shows.
Yes.
Jean Bruce Scott was either Airwolf or Magnum PI.
That's right.
And it was Alex Cord sold it.
That is awesome. I'll tell you what.
I wish you'd asked Magnum. I know Murder, She Wrote, Magnum PI.
For next time.
Facts of Life. I have them all memorized.
Oh, that Facts of Life. I love that too. That was a staple.
Only that crossover. I mean, there was a Magnum PI Murder, She Wrote 2-parter, but there was never a Facts of Life Magnum PI Murder, She Wrote.
Did Tom Selleck try to sell her a reverse mortgage loan in that 2-parter? Did that happen?
No, it was. If you watch, it's on. Oh, I don't know if Magnum PI is still on Amazon, but the Murder, She Wrote Magnum PI crossover. There's some real sexual tension there, and
between Lance Perry
really cute because Magnum PI makes fun of Jessica Fletcher, like, oh, you're just an author pretending to be a detective. Yeah. I'm a real detective, but she ends up being so much smarter than he is that he learns from her. And he ends up being a fan of her books. And at the very end, they have a great, he puts his hand out to shake, and she does this, and they do the high five. They do the slap of the hand thing, like a jive slap.
That is awesome.
And freeze frame at the end of the last episode, as you do in all of Jessica Fletcher and all of Murder, She Wrote, Magnum PI endings are freeze frame.
Yes.
Something or other. So it's like. Yeah, those are great. It's a great crossover.
I enjoy a good freeze frame. Yeah.
There's a chance I'm disqualified from this contest. Contest, and the winner might be Bonnie because I had inside information. My first acting job when I moved to Los Angeles from Boston was on a season 3 episode of Airwolf. I had 2 lines. I played a kid in a school.
What
were your lines?
We were. It was when they thought Jan Michael Vincent's character had like a Vietnamese son from the war. Yeah. And at the high school, he was playing quarters with some kids, and I was one of the bullies. and we were playing, and the lines were something like, "You cheated. I don't know how, but you did." And then we all got run off by because the kid knew karate.
No, I think you should win because you were on Airwolf. That's a cool.
Yeah.
that's a winnable. I think that's winnable. I think I will gladly give up any kind of winnings to have you win.
Look, I think it's worth it, and you were close on that again, Bonnie. But anyways, you're both winners here today because that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Thank you also for coming onto the program here. I'm having a lot of fun putting Internet for Old People together. We're going to figure this out. And for those watching here, if you're part of the GPA community, Josh McCouga is on his way back. He and Amanda, they're having so much fun being young 2-week-old parents with wonderful Rosie. But Josh will start working his way back in Monday. But we're not quite sure if the afternoons will be back in its normal time slot on Thursdays. But this show will exist. And what will eventually happen with the show, this will be a show that's live for members of the GPA and then rebroadcast later in the evening on the YouTube channel. So this has been a lot of fun, but more coming on the way. And this show is, this show can only go as far as my wonderful guests. And I had 2 great ones today. Thank you so much, Michael Beatrice and Bonnie Burton, for coming on in here. We got their handles. That's Michael's Instagram handle there too, though he is on Twitter, but he's a little bit more active on Instagram. Michael, thanks for coming on in anywhere. Any final words for you here, Michael?
No, this has been great. And I maintain that we are still cool and relevant. We are.
We are absolutely cool and relevant and relevant. Bonnie Burton, thank you so much. I've been wanting to do some stuff on air with you for a while, and finally worked out here. More to come, please, both of you. Bonnie, tell them where to find you. Your wonderful books, Crafting with Feminism comes to mind. There's so many other things. How to, the Murder Game now. Where can they get a hold of all this stuff? Just do the upsell.
You can find all my books and comics on Amazon. I did the Star Wars craft book as well, and there's a bunch of Star Wars drawing books and some Harry Potter stuff, and just all over the place. So if you go to Amazon, look my name up, and then Bonnie Girl, which I think is underneath my name in that handle, that's what I use for all social media. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat and Ello and Discord and Clubhouse. I'm just naming stuff that I'm supposed to be using that I'm probably not using.
Did you still
I don't
have
know what any of those are?
I still have my Peach account from about 5 years ago.
I do still have my MySpace page.
Same.
So I dare you all to find me on MySpace and friend me on MySpace, because MySpace still works. Justin Timberlake bought it. Yeah. And now it's like a music site, but all of the old profiles are still there.
Still there. Well, there you all are everywhere. Find them, GPAers. Please welcome Bonnie and Michael into the GPA family. Give them a follow. Tell them the GPA sent you. We really appreciate it. We want to keep doing more with them there. We love you all. That is it for this week. For those in chat, thank you so much for just having a lot of fun with us here on the show as we swim in nostalgia. More to come. You can go to the GPA.fund to join the Good People Association. Find a support membership level that you like. You get those buckets you can drink with us monthly on Drink Ups if you go to the bucket level. That is it. For Ikaika Shively pressing all the buttons and all of you watching, thank you very much. We'll see you next time when we dive into the deep end of pop culture and nostalgia. Bye, everybody. Bye.